Well, a very good afternoon to you and welcome to the show. I am thrilled. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun afternoon chatting with the Silver Falcons today. It's a place very close to my heart and it's going to be a wonderful conversation. So please stay with me. My name is Alex McPhail and this is High Performance Teams with Maj Sivu Tangana, the leader of the Silver Falcons.
Thank you.
Sivu, how are you doing today in Langebaanweg?
Afternoon, Alex, and afternoon to the viewers. Oh, well, it's actually nice and sunny in Langebaanweg this afternoon. It's been a great day.
Nice.
I just got back from work, actually.
Good. Did you have a flight this morning?
Yeah, I had to go do a test flight on one of our Falcon aircraft. It came out of a servicing.
Okay, nice. Well, it's nice to hear that the Air Force is still flying. I sit on right base on 01 at Waterkloof, and the Air Force seems to be flying more now than it was last year. Are you guys quite busy too?
Well, we're still adhering to the restrictions of a third of the workforce. So there's approximately about 4 aircraft flying on a daily basis. So it's about which is probably less than a third of the workforce. But yeah, we're keeping busy, keeping currencies.
Okay.
That's mainly what we do.
All right. Well, it's good to hear you guys keep flying. It's nice to be in the air. Sivu, let's go back a little bit. So you are a child of the Eastern Cape, Grahamstown, a beautiful part, one of the nicest areas in the country, the Eastern Cape. I enjoyed myself. So tell us about your childhood and your background in the Eastern Cape, in Grahamstown. What was school like for you? Were you exposed to flying? Tell us a little bit about your sort of high school years.
Yeah, well, I grew up, I'm the eldest of 3, 2 boys and 1 girl. Attended primary school and high school in Grahamstown. Primary school was St. Mary's Primary School, and in the high school, Mary Waters. It was a Catholic school with a Catholic background. And then flying exposure, I started at a very early age. I mean, my grandmother as well. Firstly, in Grahamstown, there's a small aerodrome right on the military base called 6i military base. There's a small aerodrome of which the guys would fly in and out. I think it's called EP Skydivers is the name of the club. I think I'm probably like 4 or 5 years old when we used to take with my mother. Used to take my grandmother to work in the morning and afternoon, bring her back. And that's where the interest for flying or flight started, took place. And then I remember there was a TV program called Bailey's Bird back in the days. And that was also something which really sort of triggered aviation in my early childhood days.
Okay, nice. And another thing that will come through later on is that being close to the coast there. I know Kenton-on-Sea, Port Alfred's very close. You became an ocean lover as well. So you finish up your school in Grahamstown, and as is common in lots of instances with Air Force pilots, your first application didn't go so well, and you tried again and got in on the second time.
Yeah, it was back in I was in matric 2003. Beginning of the year, where I submitted my application using my June mid-year results. And by the end of the year, I had not heard from the Air Force. And I was under pressure because, first of all, my family or my parents were not really big on this aviation thing. They'll listen, get your matric, go to varsity, you can always get a degree, you can always come back and entertain, because they saw this aviation making a career out of aviation. It's like, listen, we don't really understand this. Go get a degree. Once you're settled, you can always sort of like have something to fall back on.
Sure.
So yeah, by the end of the year, I had not heard from the Air Force, and there was tension at home because my parents were like, listen, Rhodes University is just down the road. Submit your application and go study. You can always 3-4 years afterwards, you always come back and pursue aviation. And at that stage, my cousin who was studying at varsity, and I probably the whole family. I come from a family where the guys, they've got degrees. They went to varsity, technical, and college back then. So this business of flying doesn't involve university. Didn't really sit well with my parents.
Yeah, and it's also not too uncommon.
Yeah, and then came, I think, January of 2004. So I was stuck between a rock and a hard place because varsities are opening up in Feb. I had not submitted an application, to go, because I really didn't know what I was going to study at varsity. And I told my parents, I'm just going to go to varsity, waste your money. So I hung around. Well, I was racing around at home a bit much, and it didn't go down well with my parents. And eventually the Air Force contacted me and asked me, listen, I think around March, I resubmitted again. I submitted another application, and I got a reply from the Air Force within 3 weeks, and they told me, can you come following week to come do your selection? I was like, oh, for sure. After I went to Pretoria, and I didn't hear from them for probably another month, and I think it was on a Thursday afternoon. They told me, can you be in Pretoria on that Monday and report for basic military training?
Sure.
I just picked up and off I went.
Oh, great. Well, that's a nice background. It just shows you again that there's a lot of people that have applied to the Air Force. And if you get knocked back on that first occasion, whether the paper's lost or whether you have a hiccup in the selection, try again. One of our good friends on my pilot's course, Brent, he did 6 applications that he was successful in and then joined our pilot's course. Okay, so let's just pause you there for a second. I want to play this intro video to just keep people sitting on the edge of their seats for what's about to come in this conversation. Hey, Sivu, nice to see those clips. So you guys are doing a great job. This was a couple of years ago. Before we dive in there now, let's just back it up a little bit. Okay, so you get into the Air Force, you do your training, and you decide to go into helicopters. Why were you interested in helicopters?
Well, initially I don't think it was my decision. I mean, at that stage, I think the Air Force had transitioned between there were still, I think, issues with the transition from the Cheetah to Gripens, as well as the Impalas to the Hawks. So we only had at that stage 2 options. Either you can go fly transport or the helicopters. And everything was mostly based on your performance on course, how well you did, in terms of course position.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was in the top three. I was either second or third at that stage. And then they took the top four guys. They said, okay, you guys are going to helicopters. You've got no say. So, and at that stage, I was not really too worried. As long as I was flying, I was quite happy. And helicopters was something that I really didn't think of at the time. I mean, I remember another course mate of mine, Justin Ellis. He was always on course, like helicopters. I mean, he comes from a helicopter family. His father and his older put were helicopter pilots. So when they said, would you mind going to helos? I'm like, as long as I fly, I'm really too bothered. And needless to say, that was one of the best decisions the Air Force has ever made for me.
I like the way you put it. And again, sometimes, the things sort of stack out just the way they do in front of you, and you just got to grab it by the horns and take full advantage of it. So there's a picture of you in the Oryx there. Looks like you're concentrating coming into land. It's a 22 squadron badge there on the side, and there's the maritime kit around the front. So tell us a bit about your tour as a co-pilot on Oryxes at a maritime squadron.
Well, it was really interesting because firstly, operating off the ships, it's not, everything is moving. You've got the vessel is moving. You've got the ocean, which is also causing another fourth dimension. The ship is heaving up and down. And it was really a challenging coming from Bloemfontein, where I'd just done the course, now to try and land on a moving vessel. I remember our instructor back then, Jan Achenbach, was like, boys, you've landed in Bloemfontein on a nice hard stand. Now you're going to land on something completely different because it's moving. You're trying to land and it's trying to move away from you. So it was really nice experience. I mean, I did a couple of trips up to Mozambique on the east coast, and on the west coast we went up to Namibia. We were actually on our way to Ghana, and then we got turned around.
Okay, well, there I put a picture up of the Oryx tied down, and it looks like a beautiful day. There isn't even any white water on the sea, so I'm sure there were some peach of days. But again, there'll be times when the sea gets a bit wilder. And now you're Air Force pilots flying helicopters, but you sort of detached to the Navy, as it were. So tell us about the sort of the crew life on the ship as an Air Force pilot, being a Navy man for that couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's some adjustment working with the Navy, because there's a pipe, or they call it a pipe for everything. I mean, in the morning, we're busy sleeping. They pipe everything there. It's tea time. It's supper time. Time to go to bed. Come to sleep. And we're trying to get our sleep in the morning. And it was, I remember the first time I went on the ship, and I asked my instructor back then, why is this Oryx making so much noise? They're like, no, everything gets piped here. The ship, the captain of the ship is in the bridge. That's a pipe in its own. So it was also a good opportunity to work other arms of service and sort of learn more about their way they operate. All their traditions, and it was interesting. Except the fact that back then, I used to enjoy, you can take me anywhere as long as I've got cell phone reception and I've got internet. I'm pretty easy. So, and when you're out at sea, the minute they hit 15, 20 miles from the shore, you might as well switch off that cell phone and chuck it in your room, or use it as the music player, because there's no cell phone reception.
Okay, yeah. So that's a different life, but great experience. And then you were telling me about a story. You had a trip planned, and you were on a nice long exercise out to India, and halfway there, they just turn you back. You were all excited for an operation, and that's the end.
Yeah, there's what they call this IPSIMA. It's a India, Brazil, South Africa maritime operation. So, yeah, this one trip we were on our way to partake in the IPSIMA in India. And I think we had just gone past Mauritius, probably south of Mauritius, on our way to India when the captain of the ship called the instructor at that stage. But listen, the whole exercise has been cancelled. We're turning around and going back to South Africa. So, I mean, we were all pretty chuffed that we were going to India. And at that stage, we had been, 4 days into the trip. And we had not even begun flying because the sea state was still out of limits for flying operations. So, and literally, we spent almost a week on the vessel, going halfway to India and back. And the only flying we did was to ferry the aircraft from Esterplaat to Somerstown and Somerstown back to Esterplaat.
Oh man!
But it was a nice experience. It was a nice experience. Luckily, I'm not a person who gets seasick. So my fellow co-pilot then he was man down for those 3 days of that trip. Sure. He was just, listen, he's not for he loves being operating off solid ground.
Oh,
so yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah, he hasn't earned his sea legs yet. And Sivu, I'm laughing because my father-in-law is a retired captain from the Navy, and the stories of piping. Oh, I've heard these stories a lot at home and at holiday as well, so I can believe it. Okay, so Sivu, you've spent your tour at 22 Squadron, and as with all training in the Air Force, then you get opportunity to get upgraded as a commander, and you go onto the LUH, the Agusta, the light aircraft. So tell us about your training to become an operating, as a captain of the light aircraft now. Put a picture up of you flying this, about to land on the beach with your Agusta.
Oh, that one was a Mozambique flight. I remember that one. I think it was 2013. The opportunity came to upgrade from being a co-pilot on Oryx now to a commander on the 109. But at that stage, still, 22 Squadron does not have 109s in Cape Town. So the deal was, if you accept the upgrade, it means you'd have to move. You're going to leave the Cape. So at that stage, the options were either Durban, Bloemfontein, or Pretoria. And I was not going to go to Pretoria because my parents live in Pretoria, and I want to be close to my parents. And then they came and said 19 Squadron was one option in Hoedspruit. And I think at the time I'd only been to Hoedspruit once. That was from Langebaanweg. We were actually going to our wings parade in Pretoria, where we flew via Hoedspruit. So I'd never been to Hoedspruit. I had no clue where Hoedspruit was. So I said, you know what, here's an opportunity. And I've always been one, as long as I'm flying, I'm not too worried about where I go. So I took out the opportunity, and I was in Bloemfontein during the Soccer World Cup. While people were busy watching World Cup and having a blast, I was on course in Bloemfontein. Busy with the LUH conversion. Okay,
well, it's coming through quite clearly in this conversation that you like to take your opportunities. And here I put another picture up where you're flying the 109 and you've got the freedom to move around, and there you're landing in a field. So what's happening in this operation here that you've landed at this, we can't even see the landing gear in this deep grass?
I think that one, again, I'll check as a picture come up. I think that was on one of our mountain deployments up to the Drakensberg Mountains. That was still on course. Yeah, that was during the conversion course. During the conversion on the course, that's in the Drakensberg Mountain. So that was part of our mountain flying phase, where you actually operate the aircraft near its maximum, envelope. That's, I think, one of the peaks we landed at it's 13,500 foot.
Oh wow!
And there's not too many helicopters in the civilian sector which can go land up there. So you need the military machines, with a bit more power that we can operate at those altitudes.
Okay, it just looks like a fun type of machine to operate too. Very capable. It's quite advanced as well. Okay, some of the comments coming through. I've got some feedback for you, Sivu, from my father-in-law, Jock. He says, "Hi, Alex and Sivu. The pipes are to keep the pilots and the doctors awake, and he trusts that you're a good bridge player. I'm sure if you spent many time with the Navy, then you'll be familiar with bridge too. Okay, so
we're happy as long as they pipe after 9 o'clock. At 5:30, it's not a joke. We are still sleeping at that stage.
Yeah, so it seems like you're in a special club there when you're on the ship. You're kind of the detached part of the Navy and not really part of the crew exactly. They've got their different drills. Okay, so another friend wants to know, were your parents watching? You say you didn't want to live near. I hope your parents are watching the show and proud of you on this one. Okay, so you finished your tour on helicopters, and now it's time to get to Langebaanweg. And as if you're spending a long time in the Air Force, one of the options after between 5 and 8 years is that pilots end up giving back and becoming flying instructors. So tell us about your training then. Become an instructor, you newly qualified, and you see an opportunity to join the Silver Falcons as the ground liaison officer. So tell me about that time in the team.
Yeah, so I was 2014, October 2014. Then I came down to Langebaanweg for the instructor's course. The course ran for almost a year. We've completed in November 2015. And at that stage, I think it was Team 78. And then there was opportunity. We did fly-offs for Team 79. I came second in those fly-offs. A friend of mine, OG, got the flying seat. And then the opportunity to do GLO. And I think at that stage, Werner Vermaak was still leader of the team. And
Are you there, Sivu? Hang on a second, we've got a bit of a technical snag with Sivu. Just stand by a minute, folks. I'll try and bring him back on the line. Sivu, you there? Okay, while I'm trying to repatch with Sivu, let me put this next video clip up for you because it is a good one and it displays some of the maneuvers of the Falcons. There we are.
Flight control.
Oh, great. We managed to get Sivu back on the line while the video was playing. That worked out well. Nice pictures of the different maneuvers, the postures, and a nice explanation on one of the Falcon videos. All these videos on the Silver Falcons channel on YouTube, all available. Download them and share. That'll be great. Sivu, you were talking about the opportunity. You were selected as the GLO for the year. So what does the GLO role entail for you?
Okay, well, what your role is primarily the safety of the team while they're busy doing a display. You liaise with lead in terms of any hazardous, in terms of birds or other traffic in the air, but also just to liaise with the guys on the ground, the airshow organizers or whoever the safety boss is at this stage that, okay, is the airspace sterile? Can the team come into a display? And any other, it's actually anything that might affect the team while they're busy doing a display. That's on the show day. But also just you help out with the planning here, flight plan there. So each member has got their different role in the team, but at the end of the day, we all help each other out to ensure that the job gets done.
Okay, good. Well, the GLO role, very important. It's also you fly the spare aeroplane as well. You're sort of an extra pair of eyes and ears and hands to helping out everywhere. And also it gives you a taste as the GLO to see what is this Silver Falcons life all about. And the next year you get the opportunity and you try out and you end up becoming number 3, a great position, a very hard position to fly indeed. And tell us about that experience of becoming a Falcon. You know, you've made the fly-offs, you've been selected and going for your first air show.
Oh, before you get to the air show, I mean, you're still excited about making the selection and you're in the team. And people don't tell you the training that goes into becoming a Falcon. I think in those 3 weeks, everything was just compact into because you start off with a low-level training, and that is operating the aircraft at approximately near its design limits. And that takes its toll on you. 7 sorties of low-level aerobatic rating, and that itself was a big wake-up call. And then when you get to the formation, like you've mentioned now, the number 3, I think the most difficult or most challenging position to fly, especially when you're flying the barrel roll. That was the one maneuver for me, barrel roll in Starfighter, where you go from being on the inside of the turn to the outside of the turn, this is now aviation jargon where, you come back on power, and then there's a specific, that sweet spot, that if you do not select the power at that stage, if you miss it, you've missed that bus, and you just watch the formation fly away from you. So that was pretty special.
Yeah, okay. Well, so if you've been in that position, guys, you'll know that missing the bus, there is no more power. If you've missed it, it's gone.
Yeah.
And number
especially
3
when you get up, especially when you, because we do the training down here at the coast, and you get to the Highveld where power is a luxury, and if you miss that bus, bye-bye, then they leave you, and there's nothing you can do.
Oh, cool. And while we're chatting here, we've got people joining in. Got Gloria saying, especially proud to be your mom, and your sister Sipokazi saying hello too there. People are greeting you from Switzerland as well. So this is awesome. People are joining in from all over the place. Okay, so now you've been selected, you've done your training, it's hard work, you get through the training. Where was your first air show?
First air show, Rand Airport.
Oh, I felt, sure.
Rand, and it was 33 degrees Celsius that day. Density altitude, I think we had worked out was close to 11,000 foot on that day. And this was my first display. I tell you, the butterflies in my stomach. You get airborne, you do your set of warm-ups, and then once you position, you're down on the purge, and then Lee tells you, 10 left, go, lowering the nose, stand by for the loop. Then you start shivering because now that's it. Here we go. This is going to be an air show.
Yeah.
So, that was for me. I don't, except for Bethlehem, Rand was the most memorable and difficult air show, because I remember at that stage Mark Gentles was the lead, and it's like, boys, density altitude, let's go try the warm-ups. If we can't stick a loop, then we're going to convert to a flat show, because you don't have the energy to complete the display.
Sure. For those who are a bit less familiar with the details of it, it's actually the amount of power and bite that the aircraft will have, and it just becomes difficult, especially if you're new in this. I remember my first show was also up here in the Highveld in the summer in February, and it's tricky. It's tricky. I can relate. So I want to put some pictures up, and so as that goes along, you move from number 3, you get an opportunity to fly in the slot number 5, and here's a picture of you doing formation with Mango. That's a great shot of the underside of the aircraft with Mango. So tell us about doing formation displays with airliners.
Well, yeah, it's something really different because I mean airliners. Mango was my first airline that I flew. I think that was back in 2017. That was the Langebaanweg airshow. It's a massive aircraft, and then you go from a 737 and you go to a A340, where you thought a 737 was massive, but it's very challenging because I think we were flying off Omskali Levine, and he's trying his best to give us to maintain a fixed indicated airspeed. And those airlines are pretty slick. You look at those throttle levers, and the aircraft just accelerates. Mm-hmm. So and once you're right at the end there, I mean, it's a Constantina effect. If the guy makes a small movement, number one, by the time it gets to you, the correction that you have to make to stay in position is quite significant.
So I remember then they're talking about sort of looking through. So you try and gauge between the aircraft next to you and the one ahead of that, and just try and keep it as straight as possible. But definitely that whip comes through that long formation.
Yes.
Okay, but you've obviously had a few different experiences along the way, flying with different air shows, different formations, and but a nice opportunity a while ago too. The team was off to Switzerland. So there's a picture of you at the home of Pilatus, stands in front of the Pilatus PC-21, and it's beautiful and shining. But you guys are brushed up quite nicely too, looking slick.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that was it was a once in a lifetime. Well, a first opportunity for the team, Silver Falcons, to make their way to Switzerland. We were well received on that other side because in the whole history of the Pilatus, the Falcons had never visited Pilatus in Switzerland. So that was really a great opportunity for the team. Thank you to our partners, especially NAC, who really made it possible for us to go to Switzerland. It was a struggle to get it off the ground because at the end of the day we were visiting we had planned to visit the Pilatus team in the Swiss PC-17. So from one military to another to get all the approval and authorities, it made the trip worthwhile.
Okay, did you manage to visit with the other team as well?
Yeah, we met with the Swiss PC-17 team in Tuppendorf, and we got to see them do a display, which was very, very nice. I think Menk, a good mate of mine, is also watching the video, and Johnny from the Swiss PC-17.
Okay, great. It's nice. You make these connections, and you never know. Years down the line, they're still there, and you can visit them once again. Okay, so you've now you've established yourself in the team for a couple of years, and now an interesting thing happens. At the end of last year, the team lead and you decide to have a conversation, and going forward, it's decided that you've been selected as the leader, and that's a wonderful opportunity, again, growth and development, and put your stamp on the team. But you can also recognize that there's a few changes coming in the team. So to do something a little interestingly, you decide to swap positions. He takes number 5 and you take lead. So tell us about what that's like. You've got an opportunity to learn, to control this formation, to look after the team, but you've also got wisdom and experience behind you, sort of as your second in charge, giving you some extra insight. Talk us through that maneuver and how that played out for you guys.
Yeah, I think at the end, the 3 of us, myself, Majors Ompile Mutluwane and Begi Shabangu, we'd been in the team now for a good couple of years, 2-3 years, the 3 of us. And OG and Becky were earmarked to move on. One was going to go to Pretoria, flying Caravans and King Airs, and OG was off to Bloemfontein to go. He wanted to go back to helicopters. So I was left as the only member with, enough experience still to lead the team. And now we were sitting with a bit of a conundrum that if the two of them leave, I'm going to be the only sole member with enough experience. The next junior oak had probably 100, no, he had probably 8 displays under his belt.
Okay.
So you had now this big gap, and then to try and make the transition a bit smoother. So we decided to swap. That he would train me up, lead, so I could fly, lead the team for a bit before his departure. So in that way, it would at least get my confidence as the lead of the team, and also they'd then help out with the training of new members. So and that's how the switch came about. It's not a common thing, because I mean the guy, once he leaves as lead, most of them it's they're on their way out from Langebaanweg. So,
that's it. Okay, so we're going to pick up that conversation because there's more twists and turns that come in that. But let me put just before the lead. So about a year ago this time, you have this opportunity as a formation flying with the South African Airways once again. Let's have a look.
Kyk net hoe mooi. Hulle die ene wat hulle
Oh, what a nice opportunity, Civil information with 340 South African Airways, the presidential inauguration, and the picture that's showing behind you there, it's the same one. Tell us about that experience, the planning, the preparation, the practice, the delivery, being part of this momentous occasion with the presidential inauguration.
Wow! When we first heard of the fly pass with the SAA, I mean, previously the guys have had an opportunity to fly on 340. So we were in Pretoria for, I think, initially it was around the Easter show, or the rain show it's called. And then the airshow planner at that stage, I think, was Colonel Tudi. He said, "Listen, boys, this is what's in the pipeline for the inauguration. A fly pass with SAA." So we were like, "Okay, well, this has happened before. Nothing new." And we were actually hoping to get an A330, because the guys have done a 400, the A340, the 600, as well as the 300, but we've never flown off the A330. And then we had to go to SAA for a planning session, look at the briefing, how we're going to do this. And then the folks at SAA said, "Listen, we're bringing 2 A340s." Now that was... we were watering. We were like, "Listen, this has never been done. This is going to be a first for the Falcons, But we'll see on the day. Things change. People plan, and what you eventually get might not be the same as what was in the planning. And we started off. We did the sim sessions with I think it was Stony Steenkamp, if I remember, and PFOs. Mm-hmm. We went for the sim sessions. We got to fly a bit of the sim, and then the first practice came, and we were airborne, holding over the nature reserve now, just south east of Waterkloof, Reefvlei
Dam,
yeah, Reefvlei Dam, and we were listening out to Joburg International, and boom, there's your uncle. 2 A340s get airborne. And when we approached them, we were like, "Listen, boys, this thing is massive. We've seen it on the ground, but now to fly over it is really, it's humongous." I think the winglet is bigger than the vertical stabilizer of the PC7. Yeah. So it was really a momentous occasion for the team. Something we thoroughly enjoyed. And we did the practice the Friday, went well. The Saturday, we were confident. We know what we're getting ourselves into.
That's wonderful. I mean, it's a rare opportunity to get formation with an airliner, and then such a massive airliner if you compare the size of a PC-7 to a 340-600, but now with two airliners. So just tell us some of the things that you think about in terms of doing formation with a big airliner. What are the considerations that people might not know about?
Well, we've had the previous guys, as they hand over the team to the next guy. And some things that they'll always tell you is, whatever you do not fly behind that aircraft. You don't want to get into its wake turbulence. It will flip you over. And I think someone has had that experience before. So that's really the one thing that you're very cautious of. Even though the tendency after a while, it is, as you become probably 10, 15 minutes into a flight, you're pretty confident, and you're like, okay, maybe we can sit a little bit closer. But that always sits in the back of your mind. Listen, the wake turbulence, because we're flying a very small aeroplane in relation to the platform that we're formating on.
Yeah, I know and as you get closer and closer, this thing, it looks so big. It's taken up your whole canopy. Oh, wonderful opportunity! And you guys did a great job. You flew right over my house, and it was wonderful to watch all the practices. And it was a great thing to be a part of. Okay, so let's put up this other video of some more Silver Falcons flying, and we can ask you some more questions. If you have any questions you want to post to Sivu, please add them to the show now, and let's have a look at this clip. Oh, nice. Just to watch those clips. It brings back fond memories, Sivu. Oh. Okay, so let's bring it to today. So you've been trained as the leader. You've got your former leader, your sort of 2IC, giving you tips from number 5, but now he moves on. You're the leader. So tell us what's happening now. Now your team has been taken apart, and you now have to sort of build up from the ground up once again. I believe you're now a team of 2 officially at this point.
Yes, we went from a 4-ship to 2 overnight, especially with COVID-19, because we had already, the plans were in place to start training, and then boom, next thing you know, COVID-19 hits the world, affects the world. So at the moment, it's only myself as the lead, Major Malokane, Lucky Malux, as Brian Emmons would call him. He was flying number 3. So it's only the two of us currently, and we're in the process of training 2 new guys. So the team will initially operate as a 4-ship before we introduce the 5th guy. It's incredibly difficult to train 3 more new guys in the team, because besides myself, everyone else will be in the new position. So the aim is always to progressively train up the guys. Once the confidence level is up, then you then introduce the fifth guy. So that's where we're at the moment.
Yeah, challenging times, and again, also you feel new involved as the leader as well. So it's a fairly new position for you, but completely new for your team. And I think it's a great approach. Maybe bring it down to a 4-ship and build it up slowly again. Well, we wish you all the best for that. Somebody's asking now, who controls your social media? Are you on Instagram, Twitter? Or is there a whole channel dedicated to the Silver Falcons? Someone wants to know specifically about Instagram.
We've got our PRO, Captain Alexander Albacini. He does all our social media, from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then also we've got a website, silverfalcons.co.za. We've got a web page, so you can have a look at that as well.
Okay,
but
great.
generally, if you send a message on any of our social media platforms, yeah, he'll reply.
Okay, great. That's nice to hear. And I'll put all the links on the show description to all your channels there. So it sounds to me, Sivu, that there's an opportunity there. Do you think that it's like riding a bicycle? I mean, you maybe need some team members to come and help out. What would it take to jump back into that cockpit? Am I ready for it?
Yeah. You know what? In all honesty, once you've done it before, I think the muscle memory will still be there. You might be a little bit rusty, but it will come back much sooner than training up a new guy. I've mentioned now with for example, in the number 3 position, where you would know that, in a barrel roll, I'm going to be coming back on power, and then there's that sweet spot where I need to take power in order to stick the barrel roll. So for a new guy, when you use some of those the terminology, like, listen, wait for the sweet spot, there's the sweet spot, and he's like, where is it? God, missed it. So I wouldn't say like riding a bike. But definitely, if you've been through the training, you'd recall it much quicker than a new guy.
Okay, well, there's a bunch of people saying, pick me. Scott's keen to come back. Mark Gentles is saying you must smile a bit more. Oh, man. It's been so great chatting with you, Sivu. It's been wonderful. It's nice to relive the memories. It's nice to celebrate the Silver Falcons. It's a great team. You guys are doing a good job. I wish you all the best. Rebuilding a new team from the start, it's tricky. But it gives you a chance to build on, build your own flavor. The team's going to have its own style and its own dynamics going forward. And, it might take a few months before you're up and running properly with the way COVID's going. However, all the best, and, stick to the training and believe in the principles, and opportunities will present itself.
No, for sure. I think, mentioning Mark Gentles, his famous quote, we would always say, before a show, listen, fly good, don't suck. And, that's the principle we live by, that whenever you put up a Falcons team, when you put up a display, it's something you must be proud of. So we never put up a team where you are not 100% sure, or you don't believe in what the team is capable of. But interesting times, I must say. And the other factors, if you look at the rand, the exchange rate, those are some of the things that we're to keep the aircraft in the air, space, and all those things. So there's a lot of challenges that face not only the team, but the Air Force and the country as a whole. But we are here. We'll train up the team. I'll try and smile a bit more.
Well, so great. Thank you for taking your time out and joining us today. And all the links to the Sivu and the team will be listed on the description. Thank you, Sivu. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all the viewers that came and watched, and for all the folks that commented. Thank you very much.
Great. Well, folks, it's been such a great opportunity chatting with Sivu and the team. Wonderful that they keep flying, and all the best for their training. Thank you for joining. Please remember to subscribe and share this, make a comment. If you're watching it not live, then put a comment down there. We can discuss it, and we'll bring you more shows, more exciting things in the pipeline. Until then, stay safe.